Okay, so we're going to start a brand new chapter. This is chapter 6, all about integers. So integers is basically just a big kid word that means positive and negative whole numbers. So let's take a look at some of our definitions here. It says blank numbers are numbers that are greater than 0. So this is going to be positive numbers. Okay, positive numbers are numbers that are greater than 0. Make sure you are filling this in with me. Blank numbers are numbers that are smaller than 0. That would be negative numbers. Okay. Blank are the set of all whole numbers and their opposites. So that's the word I was saying a second ago. That word is integer. So integer means all positive and negative whole numbers, which is good. That means we're not dealing with decimals or fractions. On a number line, the numbers further to the right are larger. So the further to the right you go, the larger the numbers are. The numbers further to the left are smaller. So for example, if I said which number is bigger, -6 or -3, -3 is actually a bigger number because it's further to the right. Even though it looks smaller, it's actually bigger. Okay, blank blank is the distance from 0 to any number on the number line. It is always positive because distance cannot be negative. This is a new term called absolute value. Okay, absolute value. Basically, all that's saying is how far away from 0 is a specific number. So for example, if I say how far away from 0 is -245, the answer would be 245 units. So basically, you make the number positive. The symbol for absolute value looks like two parallel lines, and you would put the number in between it. So when you see two parallel lines around a number, it means make that number positive. If it's a positive number, then you would just keep it positive. So for example, if you saw this, that means how far away from 0 is -6, which is 6. So basically, you take whatever is inside and you make it positive. If it already is positive, you keep it positive. So for example, if I had this is saying how far away from 0 is 10? 10. Okay, so no matter what's inside the two parallel lines, you always make it a positive number. So if it's negative, make it positive. If it's positive, keep it positive. Okay, that's called absolute value, the distance from 0. Okay, so I'm going to try some examples. First one says, write a positive or negative integer that represents the situation. So again, integer just means a positive or negative whole number. So this says a contestant gains 250 points on a game show. That would be a positive 250. So if it's a positive number, you just write the number like we normally see it. Gasoline freezes at 40 degrees below 0. That's saying a number smaller than 0, so -40. Okay? So you're going to just take the next couple and see if you can write out just a positive or a negative integer, whatever one you think the situation is describing. So you try this one. It says, write a positive or negative integer that represents this situation. A balloon floats 5 feet above the ground. An anchor is 15 feet underwater. So you're just going to write what type of number. So either 5 or -5, 15 or -15. So try that one. Now we're going to try graphing integers along with their opposites. This is really simple. If you have a positive number, the opposite of a positive is a negative. So the opposite of +3 is -3. The opposite of -2 is +2. How you would graph this is you draw a number line. Very simple. Put a 0 in the middle because that separates your positives from your negatives. +3 would be on the right side. You don't even have to count out. You can just put a slash on the right to show that a +3 is bigger than 0, and then put your -3 on the opposite side. So that's it. Put a 0 in the middle to separate your positives from your negatives. +3 is on the right because it's bigger than 0, and the opposite, -3, is on the left. Same for here. Draw my number line, put my 0 in the middle. -2 is on the left because it's smaller than 0. Its opposite is +2, which is on the right of 0. So that's all you have to do when it says graph each integer and its opposite. So I'm going to have you try one. So you're going to try this one, graph each integer and its opposite. The first thing you want to do is write down what the opposite of +4 is and what the opposite of -10 is. You're going to draw a number line, two different number lines, put 4 and its opposite on one number line and -10 and its opposite on the other line. Remember, 0 separates them. So you could pause and try this one. Okay, this one says you deliver flowers to an office building. You enter at ground level and go down 2 floors to make the first delivery. Then you go up 7 floors to make the second delivery. A says write an integer that represents each position. So you enter at ground level. We're going to call that level 0. Okay, if you go down 2 floors, that means you're descending 2 floors. You're below 0. So that would be -2. And then it says you go up 7 floors. So if you go up 7 above 0, that's going to be +7. So those are your 3 integers. Level 0 is the ground floor. You went down 2 floors. That's a -2. And then you went up 7 floors. That's a +7. B says write an integer that represents how you return to ground level. So if you're in the elevator and you go down 2 floors, you're at -2. Then you went up 7 floors. So let's see, it's almost easier if you draw a picture. You're at here. This is the ground level. You go down 2 floors. Now you're at -2. Then you go up 7. So let's take a look. There's 2 floors, and we need to go up 5 more. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means you were on the 5th floor. So when you went down 2 floors, so that makes you a -2, but then you went up 7. So 2 up brings you back to the ground level. Then you go up another 5 to get your total of 7 floors. Now you're on the 5th floor. How do you return to ground level? Well, if you're up here, you're going down to ground 0 here. You're going down 5. That's going to be a -5 to go back down 5 floors to get to 0. Okay, see if you could try one. So this one's doing game. You start a game with 10 points. You gain 4 points in the first round. The second round, you lose 7 points. The first thing they want you to do is like we just did before. Write an integer that represents each point level. Okay, and then after the third round, your total score is 10 points. Write an integer that represents how many points you received in the third round. So again, it's kind of easier sometimes if you draw a picture. So you started the game, so I'm going to just put a start with a 0 in the middle. You started the game with 10 points. So you're already up here. You gained 4 more. So you went up 4. You lost 7. And then it's telling, so you have to figure out where that is. Then it's saying you ended with 10 points. So you're going to figure out how many points you ended up getting so that you got to 10 at the end. Okay, so you're going to pause and try these 2. All right, and then I'm going to have you try these final 5. This is all on the back of your notes. Okay, so the first one says write a positive negative integer, graph the number in its opposite, and then do like we just did. So this is a review of all the things that we just did. Okay, so that's going to be your last one, so make sure you try that.